Hello, welcome to another edition of Prove All Things. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. And to all those watching on Facebook, YouTube, and X Live, we thank you for joining. For everyone else who is watching or listening to this later, thank you for joining us as well. I am joined with co-host Mike James. How are you doing, Mike?
Hey, Jeff, good to see you today. Doing well. We're just in the hot weather out here in California these days. July and August, we mid 90s to 100 daytime highs, and just starting to get used to it again.
Yeah, it's hot and humid down here in the South as well. Just doing our best. As far as church goes, things are going great here in Atlanta, and we just continue to have another plan to reach out to the western part of the town, which will be later this month. The last Sabbath of this month, we'll be having another meeting in Lithia Springs, so we're looking forward to doing that.
Great. I told you I was up in Idaho a few weeks back, and one of our other elders here locally, Tom Carrazzo, is going to go up there to visit the group and help out a little bit with the Celebration Church of God up in Ontario, Oregon. They're an independent group, and their elder had a little accident on an ATV, but he's doing much better. But we were just trying to assist a little bit with helping out with some speaking duties there.
All right. Well, hey, good to hear that. All right. Well, speaking of working with independents and working with people, we got one of the best people I know to join us about working with others, and that's Daniel Russo. How you doing,
Daniel?
So we'll let you give us an intro of like what you've been doing, where you're from, who you are, and we'll just whatever you want to talk about.
Sure. Yep. Daniel Russo out here in Albany, New York. As per the introduction from you guys, we also got hot weather this time of year. Not fun. Nothing like Georgia, I'm sure. But I work with the Church of God Network. Church of God Network is a nonprofit that we started actually almost 7 years ago. That was designed to help Church of God brethren and organizations connect, serve, and collaborate with each other. We're a service nonprofit, so we're not a church. We're not a membership organization that you can join. We're designed to be non-threatening to church organizations. We're not trying to get members or compete over resources. We're actually trying to find ways to identify gaps and fill it, whether it's helping people recover from natural disasters or fund things. We have a grant program with several program areas where we fund good ideas in the Church of God. Excuse me. And we put information in one place that makes it easy to connect. Congregation map. We have a new events calendar that just came out. And we have a new program that will be I'm sure the focal point of this episode that we're going to talk about today. But in short, we try to do anything possible to help brethren and organizations connect and build relationships across groups.
Great. I think that's very helpful to the Church of God community. And I know a lot of people are becoming aware of what you are and what you're doing. So what's new, Daniel? I know there's some new things you guys are always exploring. You want to get into that and where you want to go today?
Sure. So the first thing is a kind of not minor on our side because it took so long, but we have a new website that just came out. We added some features like an events calendar. People for years have been wanting a central place where events that are open to all Church of God brethren are listed. And so that's out now, which is cool. Just a plug for anyone listening. If you have events that you want other people to know about, reach out, let us know. We'll put it on the calendar. But the big development is a partnership we've been working on that sort of connects my other work life to Church of God Network. Sort of a little bit of a long story, but worth it. I worked with a woman at one of my last like 9 to 5 jobs years ago in Albany. And I've stayed in contact with the person who was my then boss at the time. I do consulting work with him on the side now. It's one of the things that I do for a living. And there was an interesting confluence of events. So we started doing work as a consulting firm for the organization this woman I knew now runs, very short-lived, just to help them do a project or two. And then, as I'm sure you all know, I don't even know maybe if Dusty Howell came on your podcast before, but
Yeah.
a lot of watching probably know Dusty. He got an initial ruling on his court case back in January, which was all about religious discrimination that he faced, and by extension, his wife faced and his kids faced. About a month later, we heard of a woman in Cagua who worked for a public school district and was suspended for keeping the Feast of Tabernacles after years of keeping it without an issue. But she went through a particular nonprofit law firm, and they were able to send a letter down. And then you might have heard of is about a month or two after that, a member of the Church of God in United filed a complaint via the EEOC, which is a government agency, against Chick-fil-A. And that was sort of a big deal too, accusing Chick-fil-A of religious discrimination because even though she made it clear in the beginning she needed to work on the Sabbath, they wouldn't let her. So at the same time, we were working with this other organization, which was called the Gevura Fund, which is all these things were happening in the Church of God. And my boss was like, you should, especially since the contract's over, you should really connect with the Gevura Fund. Like, they need to talk with you guys at Church of God Network because it's clearly happening to you all. The Gevura Fund, for context, is a nonprofit that started fairly recently, but is quite robust. It has quite a bit of punch behind it. That is focused primarily on fighting religious discrimination in the United States in all its forms. So same way Church of God Network seeks to know everyone in the Church of God space and help them connect and do things. They have a similar mission in the religious discrimination space. So they have a lot of standing connections. They provide resources to people. The goal is to find people facing religious discrimination in any form: anti-Semitism, Islamic sentiment, anti-Christian sentiment, and help them know what their rights are, know how to navigate the various resources, if necessary, connect with the people within their network that can do things like send what's called a demand letter to get a potential employer or school district to back off. And when I spoke with them, I realized after thinking about it for not very long at all that the Church of God is sort of at the epicenter of all kinds of discrimination. We are discriminated against. We get wrapped up in anti-Semitism because we keep the Sabbath and holy days. We're the target of anti-religious persecution from the a-religious part of society. We're also the recipient of discrimination within Christianity because we have a lot of beliefs that are standard. Like, we don't believe in the Trinity. We keep Saturday rather than Sunday. So we're like a perfect way for Gevura to move out of just the anti-Semitism space, which is where they were operating, into other religious communities. So
yeah, did you guys hear recently what happened to Philadelphia on a TV affiliate that they got kicked off because of the Trinity, Herbert Armstrong, and some of their views relating to Israel-U.S. prophecy stuff. So they wrote an article on their website, and maybe in their magazine, Philadelphia Trumpet or something on it. But you're right. Even the Christians come after us.
Well, that's interesting because, of course, for context, PCG isn't necessarily on our radar, but this winds up being beneficial to a lot of people, though. So the partnership essentially is Church of God Network is partnering with the Gevura Fund to help brethren navigate religious persecution. So the way it has been and I believe if Dusty has come on, he's probably mentioned this to you, but if you are facing, I don't know, you're a college student and you need to get away for the feast and your professors are giving you flack. Maybe it's even more straightforward. You're attending a public, like a state university or something. And they're saying, well, if you miss this time, you're going to get docked a full grade.
Mm-hmm.
And you go, well, I'm pretty sure that's against the law.
Yeah.
What's my recourse? People do not know where to go. It's sort of similar to like before CGN existed. If you wanted to find out which Church of God groups are in your area, it'd be such a big haul to do. So I believe Dusty's story was that he happened to go to a Bible study with a mutual friend who happened, one of the only lawyers for Alliance Defending Freedom in his state happened to be at that Bible study. Like, wow. So you're determined.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. We did a podcast with him and he talked about it. And so you're left with the vast majority of people not knowing where to go to navigate the situation. And from every level, it's, do I even have a case? Sometimes there's a benefit in just being able to talk with someone who knows the law inside and out and can say, yes, this is absolutely wrong, or no, that's not really discrimination. Like, you might just need to consider whatever, getting another job, or but being able to talk with someone and get an immediate answer. And then if needed, be connected with people who can, because it's their entire reason for existing as a nonprofit. Send a letter, because a lot of times it doesn't take what Dusty went through, which is needing to get a pro bono law firm behind you and fighting a case years. Most of the time, a simple letter from one of these firms,
a strongly worded letter from them will just help out.
And so, like, the Gevura Fund also has, I don't think it's out yet, but they have an AI tool where you put in your situation and it'll tell you what your rights are, given the details of what you're facing. But of course, they also have the benefit for them, the same way for us, is their network. It's the people they know. They have lawyers in-house, I believe. So that this is a partnership we've been working on for a couple months now. We're extremely excited about it.
Are they helping with the Chick-fil-A case or some of the ones you just mentioned, or is it just ready for future cases?
So they're doing work on different items. Those ones came out before we actually were in contact with them, so they're not the ones leading the charge. It's a variety of groups. Alliance Defending Freedom was the group that took on Dusty's case. Liberty First was the organization that took on the Cogwell woman's case, and the Chick-fil-A case was a complaint the member filed via a government agency. So it's a different sort of thing. But since then, once I've started talking with people as we've been working on this behind the scenes, it feels like almost everyone I talk to has experience with this. Like, in my local congregation, people I've known for years, one of my friends said, yeah, well, every year in college, I had at least one professor who was preparing to penalize me a grade or whatever for keeping the feast. So it's pretty rampant, but people take it on the chin because they don't know where to go. As opposed to, for context, we're not trying to advocate for systems change or fixing worldly systems that are doomed to be wiped out with all the other ones. We're simply trying to do what Paul did, which is we have rights before the law. We are commanded to obey those laws, and our employers and state agencies are required to obey those laws as well. So we're trying to bring the full expertise and weight of people who focus on this for a living to help the Church of God sphere, especially as the laws actually get more friendly to our beliefs rather than less recently.
So how far have y'all moved on this? Like, is there something on your website that people can go fill out a form or referral, or an email? How far have you moved on this?
So not yet. We're right about ready to launch. We mocked up a web page. They're looking over the language and everything. So we're just waiting for the okay from them to actually publish the page. But we got the okay to talk about it on this podcast. You guys get the scoop. The first place we talked openly about it. But
Hey, is there something also, like, I know a lot of people in the Church of God, they do have to let their employers know they can't work on the Sabbath, they can't work holy days. Is there any way to have like general form letters or things? I mean, I know we have some in our church, but maybe the other independents may not have those form letters, or may not word them in the correct way. Is there a way to have form letters available for people to be able to take this to an employer to let them know what they can and can't do?
Yeah, well, a couple things on that front. So the first is sometimes those letters, depending on the circumstance, need to come from a minister in your group, like to show that it's a valid religious
Right.
observance. That usually at least is for like in education settings. But if people want to come through us because maybe they're in a small group or they don't have access to something like that, you absolutely can. We know people. We could. I mean, you can reach out to Jeff or Mike or
Yeah.
Like I do it for people in other groups, right? Because
Yeah, me too.
they know ministers. Yeah, but I'll do it for anybody who's in the Church of God. If
my dad has done it. Yeah. So Church of God Network can help you navigate that as well. But for things that might have more of a legal component to it, yeah, the Gevura Fund is it through the partnership. That's where folks can get that kind of help. We'll also be putting out resources. I'm sure they'll like a blog post, certain things to keep in mind. If there's a big development legally, like there's been some pretty important cases that have established precedent over the last year or two that give us as the religious observer more rights. And the burden of proof is now higher on the employer to penalize someone for taking off for atonement or trumpets or the Sabbath. So the goal is to provide a centralized resource for the Church of God and a place to go to help when you're challenged in this way. And the big thing for us is, back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, the Church of God had enough in-house legal capacity to be able to, I'm sure, offer some help to people, but the organizations we don't have the capacity right now. Like even the big Church of God groups can't, even if there are a lawyer or two at their headquarters, they can't loan out their time that much. Plus, they might not be specifically an expert on the situation you're facing. So this is our way of trying to provide a crucial service that we're hoping even like the groups themselves will reach out to us about. I plan on stumping real hard for this and letting them know if you ever get wind of one of your members facing one of these challenges, like you could just send them our way. We'll connect them with Gevura. We'll help them navigate this thing. Again, we're not providing the legal advice. CGN isn't, but we are essentially the front door for Gevura to help our community. And probably by extension, I wouldn't be shocked if like Church of God Seventh-day Adventist, although they have some legal help, wind up being able to come through this partnership as well.
When you say Gevura, Daniel, can you spell that, please?
Yeah, it's Gevura. So it's GEVURA.
Okay.
Gevura.org.
And one more time. Who are they again, and how are they connect? You're going to be kind of promoting what they do on your site and these other groups. Can you explain that again one more time?
Sure. So they're a nonprofit that fights religious discrimination in all its forms, and they do it. It's not just there are nonprofits like pro bono law firms that are nonprofits that will take on cases and fight them. There are that's yet not to cut myself short, but laws are interpreted by the state. We do what we can at the moment. Like that's the kind of thing where Gevura would step in. There's a whole network of organizations in this country that are aimed particularly at helping people fight religious discrimination. So, the Jewish community has a really robust apparatus to help them fight it. The Christian community has some things, but this is sort of a big benefit both for us and for Gevura, because again, as I was saying, Gevura helps people navigate and fight religious discrimination, and they do it not just through having a staff of lawyers and taking on cases, but they provide resources. They want to educate people. They want to find people who are fighting similar things and connect them. So this is a way for them to get into a community that is historically underserved on this front.
Question: are you available for like, or just the only Church of God group specifically doing this for, or is it any group that keeps the Sabbath could use the services that you're going to provide?
Right. So, I mean, in reality, anyone who stumbles on the website can use it. So,
Right.
we haven't ironed out the process exactly yet with Gevura, but what it'll probably look like is, it will certainly involve a form on our website. The form will go to us and Gevura. We'll probably do some level of triage and determining, like, should this get sent forward? Is this something CGN can handle on its own, and give, maybe we have resources we could put people to start them off. But and then it'll depend on the person's situation. But there's no reason someone who is a Seventh-day Baptist or Seventh-day Adventist, or someone who's experiencing persecution, I don't know, if there's someone who's in an Islamic group and wants help fighting a potential discrimination case and happens to stumble on CGN's site, they could use it. I mean, you're not going to get the same kind of keywords on our page, but
Right.
yeah. But this partnership in particular is aimed at the Church of God Brethren, because those are the places we have relationships. Like, I can call up a headquarters of a Church of God, and there's enough of a working relationship to have a pipeline of information that's trusted, because folks trust Church of God Network, and if we have a trusted relationship with Gevura, so we're leveraging them both to get the expertise where it's needed most.
Hey, Daniel, another question relating to what you guys are doing with Church of God Network. I've had questions in the past from people in the church who are having some type of legal difficulty. And they're asking me if I know a lawyer. At one time, I did know a lawyer in the church, but I don't right now. Is there any idea within Church of God Network to provide some counseling, legal counseling capabilities for people in the church? Is that anything you guys are thinking about?
So at this stage in our development, providing legal counsel directly from CGN is not something we can do. We do have a number of lawyers within our sphere that will be working with us as part of the Gevura partnership, just to provide some sort of like Church of God specific view on things, like being an advisory team for myself and the CGN team, just to like, okay, well, what does the Church of God need to think about that Gevura might not necessarily know already, that's specific to our community. So we do know quite a few lawyers. The issue there becomes similar to like counselors and therapists. It's so state related, like the licensure is state related. The expertise, like we do know someone who's an employment lawyer, but it's, if someone in Georgia by Jeff has a particular legal issue, it's not necessarily a given that one of the lawyers within our sphere is able to give advice on that front. Like, we might be able to, we have connected people to some sort of, just a brief call with someone to say, well, where should I go? Because the initial stage of legal battles is a lot of, how do I even approach this? And so you wind up spending hundreds of dollars before you even know what legal recourse you have. So I would still encourage people, if you have a challenge like that and want to just connect with someone in the Church of God who might help you navigate it, that is something we can do, but we don't provide, and the person we would be connecting you to would be sure to tell you they're not providing actual legal counsel, but we can connect you with individuals.
Gotcha. There's a question from Super Jim in the chat box. He says, does any of this come under constitutional rights? And yeah, it does, Super Jim. I mean, I'm looking at Amendment 1 of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. So because that's in our Constitution, that gets into all these questions now with, when I worked in the government, I wrote a letter when I first got there. They wanted me to work on Saturdays. And I said, hey, since it was a 7-day a week, 365-day operation, I started out in security. I said, hey, I'll work Sundays. I'll work midnight shift. And so I was accommodated because it was federal government job. With private organizations, this is still in our Constitution, but things are a little bit different. But yeah, there's a genesis there, Super Jim, from the Constitution. You guys want to comment on that at all?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question because that is always applied to state related work, not just small s, but federal, state jobs, things like that, right? Dusty worked for a state school, the public school teacher. Member of Cagua was a public school district, so those are government related discrimination issues. Whereas the private employers, though, there has been a lot of case law, and again, I'm no expert on this, which is why we're partnering with Gevura, but there's been a lot of case law where the burden has been put on and based on private employers about what they need to do to accommodate sincerely held religious beliefs. So all these nuances that people are asking about, that's exactly why we're doing the partnership, because if one of us faced it, you'd either have to do tons of work yourself to get up to speed and know where to go. You'd have to spend money on lawyers. These are nonprofits who the whole point is they're not going to charge you an arm and a leg to help you navigate it.
I think a lot of large corporations already have accommodations out there for this. I know back it's been a while, but I worked at Walmart for a little bit, and at Walmart, all I had to do was give them the schedule I could work and say I can't work these days, and they're like, fine. They knew exactly what I was asking for. So bigger corporations are kind of already know. Maybe something like a franchise that teaches Chick-fil-A or an individual teacher may not know the laws or may not understand things correctly, and that could cause problems, I guess.
It can come from a million different areas in terms of sometimes it's a manager who, the top leaders of the company don't know what they're doing, but the local manager is giving someone a hard time, is penalizing them, and the individual doesn't know. Oh, well, is this something I need to just take? I'm not sure. So that's the kind of thing we want to help people with. And again, the hope and desire, and the reality is not all of them are going to be, years long legal cases with massive settlements and everything. Most of it is, let's nip this in the bud before it gets to that point. It's, let's send a letter or know what your alternatives are and things of that nature. And I didn't even know, I've been in the church my whole life, how pervasive this is among brethren. I'm a little bit sheltered being in New York because we have the highest Jewish population outside of Israel. So we always got the holy days off, and no one ever gave us trouble on that front growing up here. Yeah. But the amount of people I've talked with who have had some sort of employment related or educational related discrimination or penalizing for the keeping of these days is quite shocking, actually.
Well, one thing that I know that Mike mentioned, also when you're asking for these days off, because it's something, if you're in Church of God, you'll have to do if you want to keep God's Sabbath and you're working, you got to ask for these days off. Is that what Mike said? You got to be able to work the other times. You can't say I need the Sabbath off, but also need my Sundays and Mondays off. If you say that, you're not putting yourself in a good position. I know time that I've worked Saturday. I understand the Sabbath ends at sunset, because I'd go to work right after the sunset on Saturday many a times, because that's why I said I would do. I'd work any other time but that specific time, and they'll hold you to that. But you got to go into it with that flexibility as far as other times.
Yeah. Hey, Jeff, on that point, there were some times I came in late on a Saturday for some special things because, I said, hey, if you give me that, I'll do whatever.
Right.
Yeah. So, and there are also extensions of stuff like this too, in terms of a lot of times Gevura might be working on a situation in, I don't know, Massachusetts, where a school district is developing a reputation for denying people religious accommodations across a spectrum, right? And if they're trying to fight this legally, if Gevura is already working with maybe another group, maybe it originates with a Jewish group, it helps the case to then go, okay, well, Church of God Network, what members in the Church of God are in that area that also may be affected by this? Can you put us in touch with them? And all of a sudden, it makes the case much more impactful. It's not just one community; it's a bunch of religious communities that are impacted by it, and they can put a stop to actions that are illegal. And that's the whole thing, right? We're not, again, just to reiterate, we're not advocating some political systems change thing. We're advocating for the rights we have under the existing law, knowing full well there will come a time where we will not have those rights to lean on. You will have to take it on the chin, like so many thousands of brethren have over the years. But right now we don't have to. It's illegal to be discriminated against for our observances and beliefs. So we want people to have those protections.
Yeah. Hey, the First Amendment. Yes.
Yeah, and didn't Paul use his Roman citizenship when he could? So why not take advantage of your American citizenship?
Yeah.
And see what you can get with it. Yeah.
That's the exact line, right? Paul leveraged his Roman citizenship, but at the same time was not advocating that people overthrow Nero. You know what I mean? One of the biggest despots in human history. But at the same time, there were rights that made the preaching of the gospel a bit easier on him, and he was able to leverage that. And I think it's the same thing for us. And the PCG case is an interesting one. I don't know much about that situation. I'm gonna look it up after the fact. But that's, again, it's one of those situations where it's not necessarily an employee or an educational situation. It's essentially a vendor discrimination thing. I don't know what the situation would be, but that is a case where even if Philadelphia is a very problematic group for a number of reasons, does that precedent wind up becoming dangerous to other groups like United or COG who are living?
Yeah. Hey, listen, we had some issues back during COVID with Facebook. And so, again, that's a tricky situation there with the free speech and all of that, and these private businesses and things like that. Gary's got a comment there that he thinks the First Amendment is only for Judeo-Christian Bible-believing denominations. Hey, Gary, I can understand your sentiment, but let me just tell you, here in California, they are talking about creating off days at school for major Muslim holidays right now. So that's being talked about and getting into legislation and things like that. So again, you may have certain ideas about the origins of the U.S., but the way the Constitution is written, we can't establish Christianity as the church.
Yeah, because somebody established Christianity as the church, it wouldn't be our Christianity. It would be. It wouldn't be the real Christianity.
Listen. I did a sermon on dominionism, so listen, folks out there, be careful with that, because they've got a totally different idea of how the kingdom of God's coming to this earth. They think they're going to legislate it and vote it in and take control of politics and culture and entertainment and business. And once they've got control of that, then God's going to say, okay, the kingdom's there, I'm coming back. That's not in your Bible, folks. So watch out for those dominionists out there.
I know, like, Seventh-day Adventists are really big on that the government's going to pass these Sunday laws and everybody's going to have to keep Sunday. I don't know if you are aware with some of what they think about that. But it seems to me that the opposite is occurring. I think right now, at least right now, things are getting better for Sabbath keepers as far as laws are concerned, and things are in society. Like even in the school district where Connor goes here in Gwinnett County, I guess we're the most diverse, one of the most diverse, if not the most diverse counties in the country, as far as different people from different places. And they put out a list that for the first time they had a school calendar, and on their school calendar was all the holy days. Now it had Muslim holidays and other holidays as well, but they had them all on there so that if a teacher, once we give that, write that note, give it to Connor, they can look on that thing and say, yes, this is a real holiday. It's not something somebody made up.
Yeah, it's an interesting position we find ourselves in right now, because legally speaking, we we have, I mean, the rights are pretty expansive. And again, even things like, now you could disagree with whether this was correct interpretation or not, but regardless, the burden of proof is actually increasing on employers, making it easier in theory for us. So you have that happening, but at the same time, you have all these cultural forces at work where anti-Semitism is absolutely on the rise and very pervasive. There's the culture war between the atheistic progressive left and the conservative Christian right, and so but both of those you get the anti-religious sentiment, right, which it was at the core of Dusty's case. But then you do have, I caution people, beware of the backlash that will come from the groups that Mike is talking about that believe it's a biblical responsibility to establish Christianity and pave the way for Christ's return, which I agree, Mike, is not biblical. It's actually anti-gospel as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. And so that the groups that believe that will push for things like, we have to get back to what made us great. We need Sunday laws. We need people to observe the Sabbath, but a Sunday Sabbath. Who knows where it's going to come from? The point is the Church of God having the tools at their disposal to navigate things and so we do it peaceably. Like, the whole point of this is to help us do it peaceably, to make it so that there's not all this confusion on the front end where you have all this conflict and turmoil with your employer for years and years, and then all of a sudden it escalates to the point where you need a law firm to take on the case. Hopefully there's a way, almost like a mediation kind of thing, where you can go through the various steps and avoid a lot of conflict or cut it off at a certain point before it gets to a fever pitch. So this is as much about maintaining peace as anything.
Hey, let me ask you something. You just brought a thought to my mind, and let me just acknowledge Gary. Gary, I do agree with you that I think the founding fathers did have an original intent in their mind about Christianity rather than where we're at right now. I get your point there, Gary. But let me say to Daniel, you just brought something to mind. I'm thinking of Church of God Network as kind of like a human resources group within the churches of God. What are your thoughts on that? And that, came to my mind because if you're going to be assisting in this area, you're assisting in these other areas that you got going on where the needs of people are important, et cetera, et cetera. And, we're deficient within the churches of God in doing these types of things. Have you ever thought that maybe you guys are morphing into some kind of a human resources outfit for the Church of God in general?
Well, the funny thing is, I don't think I use the term human resources, but if at the very beginning of our inception, we had a possible idea of where it was going to go, and we had anyone who's ever started something new, whether a for-profit or nonprofit, you need to be continually evolving based on the reality of what people want or need in that circumstance. But in the beginning, we were considering things like, well, if we got enough buy-in and there was enough trust, why not have all the major groups? Could we not negotiate like healthcare costs for a Church of God pool of people? You know what I mean? Like, in UCG and all. Could we not negotiate better rates together than separately? And the average person listening might go, well, that's boring. I'm like, yeah, it is, but it helps the Church of God. It helps save money. It helps.
To me, that sounds awesome. That sounds awesome to be able to get better health rates.
Right. So it's like, those are the kinds of things we thought about. It was always about providing logistical support for the Church of God, whether to brethren, like to us, the congregation map is logistical support. You're going on a business trip and you want to attend somewhere and your group isn't in that area, you can look here. So we've navigated these 7 years through the lens of, as we see areas where there's a gap that can be filled, we want to try to fill it. And so it's like, does it help people connect? Does it help people serve? Does it help people collaborate? If the answer to any one of those is yes, then we want to step in there. Some things like, for example, the negotiating benefits thing, that requires buy-in from the organizations to at some, so that, not to suggest that in a few years we're not at that point, but right now what we're trying to do is, what can we build unilaterally that has value for the Church of God, both brethren and organizations, because I would have to imagine this is going to provide a big benefit for ministers as well, knowing that this resource is there. They can just refer them to us. Maybe they even, again, right, like United winds up getting in trouble for something they do and they get kicked off a station. Who's to say one of the church groups or if you guys, that something happens with you all? So the idea is we want to serve the Church of God and do so without overlapping. We don't want to communicate like, oh, we're getting involved in something a million groups are already involved in under the premise that we think we can do it better. Like, and that to us, that's a waste of time and it's needlessly competitive. So, but this is something that is so needed, and we were so uniquely in a position to provide this this partnership, given my own personal history, that like it was a no-brainer.
Hey, I want to add a comment from Robert Ansando he's making, because this is it says, at least in America, the Constitution is respected. In Kenya, students are forced to go to school on Saturday to cover the syllabus.
Yeah.
So say it's either anything internationally that you're considering, because again, United States is one small place. We got the First Amendment, but around the world, they don't have that, right? They don't have the same protections we have. It's really the world.
Listen, let me, before Daniel answers that question, let me just tell you, working in the overseas community now for a number of years, we've had so many headaches with governments creating new rules for churches that are already established and saying, oh no, you've got to now do it this way, and you've got to get all this paperwork from your headquarters, blah, blah, blah. And part of the reason for that had to do with various cults. There was a cult in Kenya, death cult, where the leader had people starving themselves to death to go to heaven. And so the government of Kenya, for good reason, decided, hey, we better get control of these churches because something crazy like a Jonestown is happening here. So I get it. I get it.
That's an amazing point, Mike, because one of the things we've been doing, or at least I have, because I'm prepping for a podcast on this that we're going to do, where we're trying to do a podcast with a friend of mine who's a lawyer in the church about the receivership back in the day in worldwide. And the political context is similar in terms of the People's Temple had just happened in California. They were hyper vigilant about that. Then you have individuals bringing this case, and California thinks, okay, well, we should probably take a look at this. So you never know where it's going to come from. And again, that's still America centric. The short answer is, at least at this stage right now, the Gevura partnership is for American brethren. And two things on the front. The first is that's still where the Church of God is largely centralized. The second thing, though, is I don't know enough about what the aims of organizations like the Gevura Fund or some of the organizations within their network are. If there are connections they have with groups whose goal it is to promote religious freedom around the globe, there might be a connection there. Like, I don't know it currently, but if I were to ask Bridget, who's the executive director, who's the person I've known for a while, hey, we do have brethren internationally, what kind of resources are there? She might either know someone, or she might say, well, I don't know of anyone right now, but who's to say a year or two into the partnership, a connection isn't made? Because that's the thing that was always at the foundation of Church of God Network, is that relationship. Like, whatever programs we have, whatever services we offer, the benefit is in the relationship. It's in the network. It's in the fact that we make it our business to know everybody. And now we're getting into different spheres that could help the Church of God that are not necessarily within it, but they provide a service.
Yeah, I'll give you, again, I know you guys are doing things already, Daniel, but I'll tell you, just as an elder in the church, one thing that I cannot help with enough that keeps coming up on a regular basis is we need some cash, whether it's someone in the community who is down and out on their luck, or economically they lost their job, whatever it may be, or in our international community, just the fact that the economic situation is so much less than it is in the United States. And again, I don't think our people in the United States who haven't traveled overseas, they don't understand what's going on in these countries. But is there any thought to just having a fund that is used for someone, in the U.S. who is down and out, who lost their job? And hey, Church of God Network can also, hey, I'm going to try to help you, but we're small in CGI. I can only do so much, and headquarters can only do so much. Any thoughts in that regard with Church of God? I know what you're doing for hurricanes and tornadoes and things like that, but just like the regular down and out Church of God person, or let's say, hey, we got people in Africa who really are interested. They're I just had an email from someone who was old worldwide, and he found us somehow, and he knows all our beliefs, and he's interested. That type of thing. Any way we can do something in the future that's more robust for that type of thing.
Yeah. Way to go, Mike. Just like in terms of a host, just put it on the tee and let your guests hit it. Almost like you guys do podcasting for a living. So one of the changes on our new site is that people who have followed us probably know that we had some programs that had like their own branding and stuff like that. Like we had something called the Ephesians 4 Project that funded cross group events. What we have done is we now just have a CGN grants program with a bunch of different program areas that we fund, which is much more like what foundations do. That's more common than the way we had to do it.
Hey, it makes it a little easier to understand, because I know when I was trying to get a grant, I didn't know where to go on your site. I was like, here's a place for grants. I'm gonna put my information in. Hopefully they get it. So
So now with the new site, it's you simply go to get help and apply for a grant, and everything's there. So we currently fund a bunch of different program areas, as well as we still have our what's called Within Your Gates program, which is a crisis relief program, which also can involve sending of funds. That's the whole thing about responding to hurricanes, responding to, there have been mass shootings in the Church of God before, like that predate our existence, but the results of criminal activity. We want to help people recover from those things. But our grant programs, one of our new goals going forward is, we're always going to do the information aggregation piece of things, like how do you help the Church of God access info. We want to have these programs like the Gevura Fund partnership to help people get the services they need. But one of the things we want to do is we want to become akin to a foundation for the Church of God, because
I think that's an excellent idea.
Because we have needed it for a long time. I mean, even selfishly, when Church of God Network was an idea in 2017, I would have loved some established foundation like, the
Bill Gates,
the Dell Foundation or something. Yeah. Michael and Susan Dell Foundation, that would have helped give some seed funding to good ideas in the Church of God. So currently we help brethren in the developing world either start a business or continue their education. We help cross group fellowship events happen. So if groups want to get together and have a picnic or have a joint Holy Day service, and then want to subsidize the cost for their members, we help fund those things. We add in several new ones. So one of them is actually ministerial continuing education. So we realized things like it'd be great if more ministers had continuing education certificates or degrees in counseling, or maybe they want to learn Hebrew or Greek to understand the native languages better. So there are particular, not any kind of continuing education, right? Where if you want to get a theology degree from Azusa Pacific, we will not help you fund that. But for certain things, we want to help the ministry, because even the bigger groups might not be. If a minister wants to help their congregants by getting a degree in conflict resolution or counseling, they might not be able to pay for their minister to do that. But if we can help them, that's something of value. We've debated things like, and we still might do it. We have to figure out a way to phrase it, but to help people who might be a widow or widower in the ministry, who are part of small groups where there isn't that safety net to help people when that happens. Because like you said, there actually is a lot of money in the Church of God, but it's centered in different places. And so there are a number of groups that take in a lot more than they need, but they don't have the bandwidth to develop a program or like a foundation and admin it, because they don't have an excess of time. They might have an excess of funds, but they don't have an excess of time. So what we would like to do is be, again, the foundation for the Church of God, a grant giving foundation where if you are a church group who's listening or comes in contact where, yes, you have additional funds and you want to make sure it goes to help the purpose of those funds and help brethren within the Church of God, but you can't administer it yourself, we would love for you to give to the grant program so we can do that to help more brethren. And who knows, we've thought about if it gets to a really robust amount, like we would love hundreds of thousands of dollars to be able to give out to things like if a church group has a great idea for a way to preach the gospel, an innovative way using technology, or maybe they have a particular minister who's particularly talented. We would love to subsidize the cost of that and partner with that. It doesn't matter how much money they have, right? Like United and Cogwood Living are bigger, but we all have bandwidth issues that we can help with, and we would love to be in that position to serve in that way. So that's one of our big things going forward as well, is we're trying to fundraise a robust amount so that we can help more people in the Church of God in more different ways. And if you want to see the ways we're currently helping, go to the site, click get help, and apply for a grant, and you can read up on the various areas we're funding right now.
Hey, Daniel, a couple things in the chat box here and one comment from me. I want you, we're starting to get down to the end of the program here. Let folks know, because we got a lot of people out there in independent groups that watch us. Let them know, since they're independent and they might want to help more, how they can help through you guys, first of all, number one. And then number two, Life Lessons has a question. Have you guys ever been accused of being discriminatory when you're helping different people? Has anybody complained, hey, why didn't you help us, sir? And then there's a final third item here. I'm sorry, I'm overloading you here, but I know that you've connected with Dusty and Deanne with Common Faith Network. Any thoughts there? Because Robert in Kenya is training ministers, and we're creating programs and classes that are completely online, so he can use that there and also on Common Faith Academy's site. If you can address those three things, if you remember.
Sure. So the last one I remember is the one about discrimination. So we're not accused of being discriminatory. And I think the big thing is we would love for more people to come and ask for our help. You know what I mean? Because like there's plenty of help that is needed. Sometimes it's people have reservations for one reason or another. I mean, a lot of it is learned hesitance, because we've all been through a lot over the last 30, 40, 50 years. So sometimes it's just they're not as aware of us. Maybe the trust hasn't been built sufficiently yet. But we would love to get, the big organizations, the small organizations, the independent small groups that aren't even incorporated. Our goal is to help everyone. And like, we love every time people reach out, either wanting to help or needing assistance. So the parameters for who we serve are governed by the criteria on our About Us page. So it's there are doctrinal parameters that outline who we serve, right? Like Sabbath, holy days, no history of unrepentant false prophecies, which but even those groups, the groups in the Church of God who are problematic in that way, we've had so many people who have come out of those groups and don't know where to go, and they use Church of God Network as their point of entry, and they're like, man, we're so glad we found this, because we did not know. It's chaotic when you come out of those groups and have to navigate the greater Church of God after having no access or connection to it for 20 or 30 years by this point. So no, we have not been accused of being discriminatory. And I remember Robert's question. What was the first one, Mike?
So the first one was, if people, like say an independent person out there is watching this and they want to help in some way because they're independent, they're just local, but they got something to give, what can they do?
So we have a get involved page on our website, churchofnetwork.org, or churchofgodnetwork.org. And there's all kinds of items that we list that people can help with. From the most basic thing, like if you can't volunteer time, if you don't have whatever funds to give or connections to make or something like that, even just the way we talk about things, the can affect the culture, acknowledging we're part of the same spiritual family, which really is the core of our vision. Like, we're not trying to get groups to combine. The only hurdle we're trying to clear is we want Church of God, organizations and brethren to all acknowledge that we're part of the same spiritual family, and that as a result, we have some sort of obligation to each other. But there's a whole menu of items there. We have a number of programs people can volunteer for. We have a thing called local contacts. We have a network of contacts across the world who are doing locally what CGN's trying to do nationally and internationally, which is, there are people locally who everyone knows and really respects, and they have relationships across all groups. And so, yeah, CGN can form relationships there, but it's nothing like the intimate relationships that trusted person has that they can leverage locally, and that we can leverage as CGN to help get information out, take information in. So there's a whole host of options on our Get Involved page people can check out. And those are the things that we have learned over the first 7 years of us doing this that are the most impactful.
So again, I think one final question from Robert there. You may have addressed it, but do you have any formal connection with Common Faith Academy at all?
Formal only insofar as that they're part of the Church of God sphere, and we help promote their stuff when they have a new item coming out. Like, hey, the Exodus Plagues class is coming out. Like, why don't you guys take a look at it? We'll give a plug for that on our social media. Like, that's another thing we do. We try to help spread the word for different initiatives in the Church of God. We have a directory. I have something called Church of God Search Engine, where we have a directory of all the different websites that exist within the Church of God, and you can search for keywords with all those websites or go directly to the websites themselves. So we have a really good working relationship with Common Faith Academy and Dusty and Deanne and all that. Dusty's been on our podcast and everything. So you have a connection on that front.
Gotcha.
All right, wonderful. Well, it looks like we're at the end of an hour. Is there anything else you wanted to share that's new or interesting with what you're doing there, or we covered most of the new things?
We've covered a lot of it. Just everyone go on and check out our new website, look at the programs, and the Gevura Fund partnership will be up, I'm hoping, before the feast.
Yeah, I checked out your website the other day when I saw an ad on Facebook for it. It's, a new website. And I as a website guy, appreciate new websites, and it was a really nice one. So yeah, go check it out.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, right, thanks, Daniel. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for doing that. I want to thank everyone out there for your comments and participating with us as we're here live. And we will see everybody again next week on another edition of Prove All Things. So goodbye for now.